Hey Faith Family, welcome to the Beyond Sunday podcast at Calvary Bible, where we go beyond the Sunday sermon to explore some rabbit holes and to bring some biblical truths to the surface. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Calvary Bible Church, welcome back. Got another episode of Beyond Sunday. Pastor Randy, thanks for being here again.
You're welcome.
Psalm 87.
I have a joke for you.
No, you don't.
I do.
I have a joke for you.
Do you really?
Yeah, what kind of bees drop things?
Fumblebees.
Yeah, good job.
Did I get it?
Are you serious?
Fumblebees.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that's is that 2 weeks in a row?
It's the same joke 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, okay. I thought that sounded familiar.
Oh, gosh. Yep. Okay. You don't remember jokes very well. I was watching you wheels turn and I thought, I think he's actually thinking about this again.
I thought.
And you got it 2 weeks in a row.
This.
Okay.
That's
2 for 2.
That's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your joke?
My Amish mower starts harder every year. You have to be from Lancaster County to know that one.
Yeah, most of us are. That's good.
I was just thinking about it today because at noontime, I was pushing it.
Were you pushing that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were driving past one the other day and some, Amish girl was out mowing and Chase goes, "What is that?" I said, "That's a mower." Explained how it worked and he goes, "That sounds hard."
Well, if he comes over to my house and mows a little bit,
he's going to get it.
He's welcome to use it.
Okay, cool.
Nobody's taken me up on it yet.
I've never used one.
Oh, they're incredible.
How often do you sharpen the blades?
Twice a year.
Twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do it yourself?
Mm-mm.
Take it somewhere?
I do.
Okay.
Just off from E.B. Chickies Road.
Yeah.
That first farm on the left.
I enjoy sharpening.
That guy died.
I know.
A year ago. I couldn't believe it.
I know.
Young guy.
They still do the sharpening though.
I think.
They do my chainsaws.
Yeah.
The chainsaw blades. Okay. Now you're in the know.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's
there
more than they bargained for.
Outro Sharpening is a sponsor of the Beyond Sunday podcast.
And they don't even know it.
Nope. We sponsor them, I think.
Yes, we do. I do.
All right. So Psalm 87. First, you said this maybe even a couple of times. You said that you wanted to skip this psalm.
I did.
I don't know if I heard a reason why. So why? What was the reason for wanting to skip it?
I think everybody's reaction to it confirmed it. Anybody that knew that it was coming and read it said, "I have no idea what that's about. I don't have any idea what that's about." And when I read it, my comment to myself was, wow, that's going to be, that's one of those that relevance is not easy to come by.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of through the back door, and yeah. So
okay,
it had it had a few challenges.
So that's not how it struck me.
Yeah, how did it?
Well, a lot of these. So I will say this: a lot of the subtitles that we read above Psalms and other sections are very helpful.
Yeah.
This one I didn't find to be super helpful.
No.
But what caught me was this reference to the city of God, which I don't know. You've probably looked, but I don't know how often that phrase or those words come together very often. So to me, that just triggered, rightly or wrongly, heaven, the city of God. And so my interest was piqued there.
Sure.
But then, yeah, as far as what to make of the rest of it,
yeah, I
didn't think that far
initially. It's interesting. The city of God, for instance, I ran out of time completely, but had hope that at the very end, we would see the picture in Revelation 21, which talks about this city coming down. So when you talk about, your thought about the city of God being in heaven, I would say that at the end of the story, at the end of the book, our Bible, you see this city now in great detail at the end of the story. And, it's the place where all of the promises of God are coming true for all eternity for us. So I would have liked to have gotten there. But again, if you're interested, if you do, even if you track the word city, just go looking at Revelation 21 and you'll get a great glimpse of our future city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. So anyway, that's kind of immediately where my mind went.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get there today.
Maybe.
So a couple of quick translation questions, though. One that you mentioned, but I was curious the reason why behind it. You said Rahab refers to Egypt. Why?
Because I think I did say on Sunday, you probably looked down and just vegged out on me.
I don't know if I did. So
Isaiah,
you just might need to say things
Isaiah.
Twice. Sometimes I need to
I
hear
didn't
things
have time.
multiple times. So,
In Isaiah, there's a text. I forget which Isaiah text, but it's clear that place is equal to Egypt.
Oh yeah, you did say that, but I didn't see it there. I mean,
did you
frankly,
go look
frankly, I went there and I thought
maybe
what?
I could have had the wrong reference in Isaiah because I don't memorize them all real well. But there's a place in Isaiah if you just track that term. Now, in the ancient Near Eastern world, I did not say this, but in the ancient Near Eastern world, this Hebrew word, which is pronounced short A's, Rahav.
Mm-hmm.
Rahav was an ancient sea monster that everyone knew that monster had to be subdued. So it's a terrorizing monster in the ancient world as well, which does certainly it's an appropriate description for how Egypt handled. Did you find it?
I did, but so this is not Rahab the prostitute.
No, which is why I said on Sunday, our minds go immediately to the woman, but it's not her.
Gotcha.
Not in this case.
Again, because that is where my mind went.
Where is it in Isaiah? Which
so
one?
it looks like Isaiah 37.
37.
30 verse 7.
30 verse 7. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe you did give the right. I think I was looking at something else and wasn't tracking.
Because there were two Isaiah texts that I had in my mind, and sometimes I get them confused.
Yeah, so it says, chapter 30, verse 7, Egypt's help is worthless and empty. Therefore, I have called her Rahab, who sits still.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, folks. Now we know Rahab can be a reference to a Rahav to Egypt.
To Egypt.
Good. And then the second one, this came up in like a translation. Sometimes you'll point out different translation differences. So in verse 7, ESV reads singers and dancers.
Yeah. I totally drew a blank on that. Not drew a blank. I just didn't
reference it.
I didn't. Again, I'm looking at that clock when I was in the second point and it was 20 after. I thought, oh no. So let me anticipate what you're saying.
Okay.
So a lot of the English versions leave out the dancing and will actually read that as some kind of an instrument. So the ESV I have here, verse 7, singers and dancers alike say. So is that where you're going with that? Where it's
partial credit,
is it instrumental, or what are some of the versions doing?
Well, the person who asked said the KJV translates it players.
Yeah, because they're playing instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't know how many more you have there. I mean, I have my phone. I can pull up some more, but it's really not.
Dancers, those who play the flutes. That's the NASB.
Yeah.
They make music. Those who make music, and they will sing.
There you go. So, but what I was saying to the small group on Sunday night, this past Sunday night, the word translated dancers comes from a Hebrew verb meaning to turn around or to twirl. So I prefer the dancing to combine the singing and the dancing, which I think was a part of the culture then, part of the worship experience. You can think of King David, for instance, when he was dancing around, and I think it was his wife at that time was so horrified by what I think she'd call like a shameless display or shameful display. So that's the reason for the translation. In my mind, dancing is probably better than an instrumentalist.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. Sometimes that's just interesting and helps fill out the understanding there. So beyond Sunday question for you, in that same verse, those singers and dancers, they say, all my springs are in you. And you did a nice job, helpful for me to kind of draw out some of the other places that we, try and drink from. I thought of the analogy of like a dirty spring or a contaminated water source. I like watching these survival shows, and these people get out in the wilderness and they're like, oh, it looks clean and clear and it's fresh. So they drink the water, and it's certainly refreshing at the moment, but they vomit their brains out that night.
That's awful.
And just looks terrible because you can't tell, but it's contaminated. And so I just, you were
a great
drawing
picture.
out some of these kind of contaminated water sources, power, people's approval, physical, financial comforts, things like that, that they seem very satisfying and can be in that moment, but ultimately they're going to leave us vomiting our brains out.
Yeah. That confession in verse 7 is one of the finest places in the Old Testament to describe genuine saving faith. Now, we don't think in those terms, but I hope I at least touched on that a little bit. So when we say together, all my springs are in you, and we're talking to God, we are saying that he's the source of our lives. And I tried to put together a little string of things of what that might mean. But saving faith is saying this, that when I say to God, I want to receive life, that's a way to talk about conversion, right? God, would you please give me eternal life? Let me drink at the springs of living water. I mean, a lot of us in our faith family have heard things like that. This is what we're really saying. We're saying that is saving faith. That's genuine faith in action. When we say to God, God, please save us. Please give us life. I want to exchange my spiritual death for spiritual life. He becomes the source of my life. And then the question is, do I live that? And that's the challenge for us every Sunday. We come together and we say, can we actually legitimately say this confession together? And God is our witness, of course. He hears us. And
yeah, so you say that's a great salvation explanation there in the Old Testament, because it's a source of life, a source of water.
Yeah.
And for us, you open the spigot or the tap, and you get water. And so for us, water's a given, thankfully.
Yeah.
But for them, water was a valuable commodity.
Yeah. When you saw the slide, of the young children with the bottled water, that was my way of trying to convey, look at how important it is to have fresh water like this.
Oh yeah.
The reason why I like confessions in the Psalms, and this is one of the reasons why the Psalms function so well theologically, is that confession, no one would link that to faith. Like the average person in church isn't going to read that and go, oh yeah, that's what saving faith is. I want to say, when you make a confession like that, that's what this is. This is you acting out your faith. Your faith in action is you're counting on God for every element of your life. And for me, that's the challenge, day to day, so I don't know where else we're headed with some of your comments, but can I just say, if I had another 15 or so minutes, let's say, not today, but if I had had them on Sunday, one of the things I would have liked to have done is I would have liked to have done a better job saying that this particular song, which talks about us in our final state in the city of God, all right? So you have to place, put yourself into this prophecy so that you're at the end. You are completely redeemed. You have the redemption of your bodies and all of this. You find yourself in the city of God where, remember, the key element of this was the law of God being taught. That was the reputation that I took you to. And I forget, I think that was an Isaiah text where I took everyone to look at what was being said about the city. What was being said about the city is, we want to get in there because that's where God teaches his law. So what we're saying is, in our faith journey now, we are moving in the direction of the time when we will be completely redeemed, which means this fight for faith and fighting temptation and sin and being a part of a badly broken world, we are going to experience in this place perfect shalom, perfect wholeness. And we're on that journey now, but the Sundays together give us an opportunity to assess the degree to which we are saying that confession. All my springs are in you, Lord. Well, except a couple of them.
Right.
I kind of like drinking from a couple of other places, which you described so well. They're refreshing at first, but then you get some major gastro issues.
Yes.
So I love the illustration you use. I'm just trying to convey what the faith journey is now. We do want to confess, verse 7. But we also know that we're in a fight for, our affections or our thirst or for other things. And so we keep identifying those other things and we keep turning those over to God, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
I wasn't sure where you're headed, but.
Yeah, my mind just went to an illustration. I forget where I read it, but he describes loving God as like a top button truth. If you've ever put a button-down shirt on, you start in the middle, you get down, you're like, oh, dang, God, I started wrong. So you got to start all over. But if you start at the top, all the other kind of buttons fall in place.
That's good.
And he just used that to say that if you love God first, that's the top button.
Yeah.
The other buttons are going to fall into place.
That's good.
Now, it doesn't mean obviously everything's going to just be peachy keen and go your way. But if we drink from the well, the spring of living water, at the end of the day, the buttons are going to line up.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in good shape.
And one of my
spiritually speaking.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Jonathan Edwards is when he said, love is the main thing in saving faith. And once again, do we even put those together? But he put them together. And he said, no, that is the essence of saving faith, is this love for God, which makes sense. And I don't know whether Edwards was doing this, but when you go back to the Great Commandment, the Great Commandment is you should love the Lord your God with all your capacity.
Right.
Well, so that is. So yeah, that's good, that top button thing.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much out of questions here, but City of God is, just to clarify, is that pointing us to heaven?
Yeah, I don't know what you do with that.
The New Jerusalem.
You could do that. New Jerusalem. You want to track some of these terms later into the book of the Revelation, which I think are great. I also want to point out, since maybe we're done with any type of question or comments, but the ladies' Bible study. Michelle was telling me that next week the ladies' Bible study on Tuesday morning and Tuesday night are going to be in chapter 9 of this book, Even Better Than Eden. So they're working their way through this. The subtitle, 9 Ways the Bible Story Changes Everything About Your Story. So right before coming up here, I thought I would take a quick look at it. So chapter 9 is the story of the city, and somewhere towards, let's see. So just to pick up on what you were saying, on page 157, if you're going to that study, remember page 157, actually, it does quote Psalm 87. This will be the city the psalmist sang about. In fact, look for what Psalm 87 has to say about who will inhabit this city. We talked about that on Sunday. Look at the 5 unlikely characters getting in. They're reborn. They're born again. So just to let you know the story of the city, listen to the headings. So she does a great job tracing the story. The city of Enoch, the city of Babel, the city of Sodom, the city of Jerusalem. She does a nice job tracing that word, especially the derivation of it, the last part of it, Salem, that city, Salem in Abraham's day. She does a great job with Abraham and Melchizedek. And so what you have, of course, is you've got this city of Shalom that I just mentioned a moment ago, the city of Jerusalem. Then she has the city of Babylon, which comes up in the prophets. Then Jerusalem destroyed. So she's tracing the city throughout history, throughout redemptive history. Jerusalem destroyed, Babylon destroyed in the final chapters of the Bible again. And then, Jonathan, the one you mentioned, the New Jerusalem, is the very last heading. So it looks like that's a great journey through redemptive history in the Scriptures with respect to that concept of the city, the place where God dwells with his people. In our case, in the future, he dwells with his people perfectly, and we get the full enjoyment, total satisfaction of being in the presence of God with all the glory that's involved in that. It's going to be so much better than what we're experiencing now, even though there's so much of life that's good because of his grace.
So that exact phrase, city of God's only one other place in the Bible, Psalm 46. So get this, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. So
yeah, Rebecca will love this, but all of my commentary friends, they all picked up on the similarities between those two psalms.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And I just say today, look, I don't know your circumstances today, but please remember that confession. All my springs are in you. So if you're in one of those scenarios today, remember that promise of God to give you living water is true today in the midst of whatever you're dealing with. So please take it as a promise, and He's faithful to deliver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too, Jesus picking up on the water analogy, with the woman at the well, and she's a wreck.
Yeah.
But He's offering her eternal life.
You never thirst again, He says.
Yeah.
And there are so many key moments around water sources in the Bible.
It's just really absolutely.
It's just. Yes.
And just pointing out how different that is for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you imagine breaking into the ground and finding water in an area like that? It's like gold, better than gold.
And the joy that it would bring.
Oh.
The refreshing joy. I mean, it would be.
Yeah. So we lose some of that. It's hard to really get into those shoes.
Yeah.
Or sandals. Yeah. Whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. You good?
Is that it?
That's all? Okay. Great. Hey, well, listen, thanks for joining us. If this podcast or any of the sermons raise questions for you, please email them in to podcast@cbcmj.com. We love hashing through the sermon a second time. Gives Randy an extra 15 minutes when we cut them off on Sunday.
Wow.
And
it was fun to see our friends
on
Sunday.
It was good.
The Hennigs and the Smiths. That was a neat day.
Yeah. It's always fun to be together. So, all right. But you can email them into podcast@cbcmj.com if I didn't say that already. And catch you guys on Sunday. Okay. See ya. Thanks again for joining us on today's episode. And remember, our Sunday sermons are meant to lead us to a life of worship beyond Sunday.